put together a similar campaign, except as said he couldn't do it because the hospitals just wouldn't cooperate. They saw themselves as competing with each other. They didn't want to sort of share the wealth, if you will. You already have a number of partners. How have you been able to overcome that obstacle? Is that about San Diego's culture? Is that about the relationships you built over the years? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, that's an excellent question. You must have read my playbook. Competition in hospitals here in San Diego is intense, like it is in many other places for business. And that's what business is all about. But the first thing that I had to figure out, I talked to a number of people to say, hey, is this a good idea or not, like Joe and so on and on. Well, we decided that we needed to start small with for our major hospitals. Well, they're all competitors more than they are cooperative. I'm not saying they don't cooperate, but they have intense programs of marketing and so on and so forth. So the most difficult thing I had, the biggest hurdle I had to start this whole thing was, how am I going to get the CEOs of the 4 largest hospitals in one room at the same time? Because they've never been in one room together before, ever.
That's true.
Yes, this is a true story.
That's a remarkable thing.
And so I recognized that was going to be the hurdle. Well, I had my secretary and send out to these 4 people a list of 15 potential dates and times. And we couldn't match them up. So we sent another batch out of 15, and we couldn't match those up. And so I hit my head against the wall just so long, and then I had to figure out something else. So I said, well, look, talking to myself, I said, I'm going to go back this time with 15 more dates, but I'm going to suggest that we'll have this first meeting, in my home for dinner, where they won't be exposed to the outside world. Finally, we agreed on a date. And I will tell you that the meeting was perfect. Everything was cooperative. I had an agenda, but I didn't put a final decision. The only thing that I said is, what's next? And we all agreed at that particular meeting that they would each assign a senior executive person on their team, and they would be the representatives, and then we'd start working from there.
That's a great process.
So it worked. And by the way, we've had no interference of any kind whatsoever. And by the way, let me back up and give you some Malin's numbers that I think can be very doable. I mentioned earlier that the Jacksonville last year had 3,000 new patients that wouldn't have been in their area. And what they found out was that the average patient was there for 10 days, and the average patient brought 2 people with them for 10 days. That's 2 hotel rooms a night, or 20 hotel rooms. If you put 50,000, if I'm relating their 3,000 in Jacksonville to, in 3 years, that we could easily be, in my opinion, 10,000 new patients. And if you put 50,000 per patient and 20,000 for the 2 family members or escorts with them, that's 70,000 times 10,000. That's $700 million in new revenue, compared to his 17 million for all total revenues in tourism today. So that's a pretty good start, and I'm very confident.
I know that Joe wants to say billion.
Thank you.
17 billion.
Billion.
Give me a little credit.
17 billion. Excuse me. I forget these zeros sometimes. So anyway, I think that it's very, very doable. By the way, 2 things, just so you know, in case the question doesn't come up. We plan this, the way we design this, let's start small and then we expand in both ways. Both the providers here and the community I anticipate that eventually we'll have all providers of any size, but of quality, of course, in this package. But we need to perfect the plan first. And then we'll start in this country. We've already started, as a matter of fact, doing the testing and one thing and another. So we'll start in this country. I envision we'll probably go south to through the Americas next, perhaps, and then Asia. So this will be an international effort. But again, start small, start local, and then advance from there.
Joe, let me ask you a couple questions, and then maybe we can take